That was the corridor between the girls and boys dormitory, men and women. Things started to go downhill. There were so many fires here that you just look in the papers. Fire, the building that they originally built in, I think, 1880 to house the people with mental disabilities, which ended up not being funded because they started shipping everyone to Hudson River Psychiatric. That one went on fire, and they lost that building. The Ulster County Agricultural Society announced in December 1966 that the fair would be moving from Forsyth Park in Kingston to here. Okay, the pool complex was added in the 1970s, disregarding the bones of approximately somewhere between 2,300 and 2,500 burials that were here.
So they're underneath the pool?
No, they were dug out. 1986, the Poorhouse is torn down. Here's a sad picture. Different dates. You can. It just ranged all the time. I've frozen certain years on the website. You can look at them, and they give you the number 250, or it ranged, and again by season as well. Thousands. Thousands. November, see, this is the article I have, 1972, according to Superintendent Anthony Ruiz, 25 men and 5 women who live in the home. It ended up being closed after that, sometime after that, but there were still some people living here then. Patients moved into the new county infirmary from here.
So that was Golden Hill?
Yes. Ta-da. Institutions that grew out of the poorhouse system: mental asylums, orphanages, industrial homes, state schools for the feeble-minded, nursing or old age homes, home for unmarried women, medical centers or infirmaries. That's kind of what that big umbrella that it took care of at that time. Now I'm going to tell you, oh, there's the Merritt Family Cemetery. That's right to the left of the pool. Some graves that you can still see in back of the pool.
When the bones were, when the pool was built, what happened to the bones? What happened to the dirt? I mean, did they inter those bones in just a mass burial, or what did they do with those bones?
Don't know. Don't know. That's when Rebecca, which I'll tell a little bit about when I... Do I have the one slide here? Wait, there's Rebecca. Okay, this is the last thing I have to tell you about. Our poorhouse is probably the most famous poorhouse in the world. And I'll tell you why. Okay, anyone here of the Jukes clan? Okay. The head of the Jukes clan lived in the Ulster County Poorhouse. And Richard Dugdale, when he did his 1874 study, started out in the Ulster County Jail and started noticing all these relationships between people there, and then came to the poorhouse and came up with this whole eugenics theory, which then actually was passed on to some people in Germany in the 1930s. So takes roots here, right here. And he actually put out a book about the Jukes family. That wasn't their real name. That was the pseudonym for their name. And actually when we did studies, there was an article in the New York Times pretty recently that in the last couple of years that actually had the last names of all these really prominent people in Kingston who were descendants of this family to disprove this whole theory. This is a quote from Trina. The concept, this is of our statue, which we'll get to see after. An aging and stooped woman holding together a thin shawl with one hand looks into a future that is devoid of hope. Her expression shows strength, compassion, and helplessness at the same time. Her other arm and hand seem to ward off an uncertain fate. Details of features and shawl become blurred, melting into the mists of the past, and vague imagery of birds and flowers on the shawl seem to suggest the potter's field in which she will be buried. I get the chills when I read it. I have not seen the statue bronzed yet, so it's going to be pretty incredible to see her. And that's Trina.
So, as I said, since we're comfortable in this room, and I hope some of you can bear with us for a few more minutes, this has been a community effort. So many of you have stepped up and helped make this happen. I have to thank there's a few people here I want to thank. We have several legislators in addition to Tracy Bartells, our chairwoman, who you'll hear from in a moment. But we have with us Lynn Archer, Herb Litz, Manna Jo Green, and Laura Petit. I know there's a few other things going on where our other legislators are out and about tonight. We have New Paltz Supervisor Neil Bettis is here. I saw him before. I think we have some other New Paltz Town Board members. I saw Don Christensen from SUNY New Paltz. Thank you for joining us and all your support. And I saw Mike Beck here from Family of Woodstock. One of the things that all of us wanted to do is to make sure, as we remember these poor people, that we still have poor people who need our help today. Our county historian, Jeff Miller, is here. Thank you, Jeff, for all your help. And I'm just going to say a couple things as I introduce some of the folks that came here tonight. As I've told you 20 years ago when Susan first called me about this, never did I imagine this journey. But from the very beginning, I knew we had to do something to mark this site. As Susan uncovered more and more names of the people buried here, over 2,000 in total, and began to share their stories. They were stories of people who passed through the poorhouse, not only just people who were buried here. It became clear to me that a simple brass marker would never be adequate. We've made several false starts over the years. One of the most magnificent things we have is our county website. I urge you all to go there, just put in Ulster County Poorhouse, and look at some of the records there. We're constantly expanding that. Susan continued to tell their stories. Then a few years ago, when Trina Green was inspired by one of Susan's lectures, the stars all seemed to align and the pieces fell together. So before I introduce our speakers, who were each instrumental in making this memorial a reality, I'm going to do something very dangerous and try to thank some of the people who helped us get here. I hope I don't forget anybody. But first of all, of course, Trina Green, the artist. Many of you know her for her statue of Sojourner Truth up in the town of Esopus. It's beautiful, and she really put something together that I think is a fitting memorial to remember these people. A wonderful woman who posed for that statue, though, sadly can't be with us tonight. Annette Finestone passed away just a few weeks ago, but she was a great lady who dedicated her entire life to helping others. Her life is an example to us all. Her role in creating the statue was very unique. She posed for the statue in the nude. Not many women approaching the age of 100 would have the self-assurance to pose in the nude. I believe some of her family might be with us tonight, but I just want to tell you, don't worry, the statue's not nude. But all of those who knew Annette would always remember her with a smile when we think of her posing for the statue. I have to thank the Poorhouse Memorial Committee. I'm so happy to see so many of you with us today who helped brainstorm for fundraising ideas and helped us get the word out about this fundraising effort. We could not have done this without each and every one of you. I want to thank Joe Tantillo, my brother-in-law, who donated his time and talent to design our fundraising posters. Growing up in New Paltz, he always talked about coming out here at Christmas time with the Boy Scouts, singing Christmas carols and bringing food and things. Joseph Bikert of Timely Signs, who donated the fundraising posters when we first began this project. A very special thank you to all the private donors who stepped up and helped us demonstrate that this memorial has a grassroots support of this community and this county. Thanks to each and every one of you for your generosity and believing in this project. And I want to thank Ulster County United Way for helping us keep track and report those private donations so that we made sure nothing happened to them. Every penny went in to help make this a reality. We have a big thank you for the Ulster County Public Works Commissioner, Tom Jackson, Bob Buser, and all the buildings and ground staff who put this memorial together, who built the site where it's at over there. I also have to thank the late Harvey Slate, who was the Public Works Commissioner 20 years ago when we were trying to rescue the Rebecca Stone, and all of the employees over the years that have helped us save that little treasure more than once. I have special thanks to the Town of New Paltz Town Board for supporting the project. They stepped up at a critical time to help us expedite the actual creation of the statue. One of the people I'm very happy to introduce is, did Deputy Executive Mark Ryder get here yet? Ah, there he is. Ulster County Executive Adele Ryder couldn't be with us tonight. She and her predecessor Mike Hine and Mark Ryder were the first on board with this project. As soon as we talked to them, they said they would help pay for half the statue. It was their support for this statue and commitment to creating a fitting site that made me believe for the first time that this could really happen. The executive staff has supported this effort from the beginning, recognizing the importance of showing respect for the contributions of all Ulster County residents, past, present, and future. Mr. Ryder?
Thank you all for coming tonight and welcome. I'm here and I'm going to be very brief. I'm speaking on behalf of Acting County Executive Adele Ryder, who sends her apologies, but was unable to make it. She's attending a separate wake. So first off, Fawn, thank you for the introduction and for your help planning today's event and all of your tireless work that has gone into this project. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank Susan, who had decades of research and planning and advocacy, and without her work, we couldn't have gotten here today. So, Nina Postupack, our county clerk, who has supported Susan with her research and just, again, been an advocate on this project, so thank you. Our former county executive, Mike Hine, for his commitment to the vision of this memorial and for stepping forward at the beginning to provide funding, and to the legislature for their support as well. And I just have one more. Assemblyman Kevin Cahill for his tireless efforts at putting, secure the funding for this project. So many people might ask, why a memorial? Obviously, there is no question that the Poorhouse represents a dark chapter in our history as a county. It was a time where our state and our nation, we had little compassion for the destitute, the mentally ill, the physically handicapped, or anybody who was considered on the margins of society. And while some may question why we would drudge up such a dark history, I think we can all agree that those suffered without our recognition or compassion here and at other poorhouses throughout the state deserved better. While it is too late to change our history, we must learn from it and use it as a way to strive forward and be better in the future. So today we remember. We remember so that those who are forsaken will no longer also be forgotten. We remember so that they are afforded dignity and respect that they deserved and did not receive in life. And we remember so that we do not repeat the transgressions of the past, and so that we may continue to work together toward a community that treats everyone, regardless of their circumstances, as humans worthy of respect. So as I said, I'm going to be very brief. Thank you for coming out, and I'm going to turn it back over to Fawn.
Thank you, Mark. Assemblyman Kevin Cahill was trying to get here tonight. Okay. Come on up. Assemblyman Kevin Cahill put us over the top with this project. His grant and continued support, it would have been years before we were able to actually complete the project. I know Annette Feinstein was a very, very dear friend of his, and so this memorial has a very special meaning to him. And
I am not Kevin.
I know, but one of Kevin's trusted staff is here to represent him. I'm sorry, your name? Lori, I'm sorry.
It's quite all right. Hello. So I am not Kevin. Kevin unfortunately could not be here. It was a last minute schedule change that he is very, very deeply regretful that he could not be. I do have something for Annette's family if somebody is here and I could speak with at some point. I do want to pass on the message that Kevin worked, sorry, it's been a long day. Kevin did appreciate Annette. He did feel very passionately about her work, and he did feel very passionately about this project, and he does commend everybody who worked, aside from himself, obviously, for bringing this to life. It is truly important to remember our history and to honor it and to use it to change our future, as was stated before me. So I just want to say congratulations to everyone who worked on this. You made something wonderful come to life.
Thank you. Is Annette's daughter here? Oh. 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 All right. Our next speaker and the next group I need to thank, Ulster County Chairwoman Tracy Bartells and the Ulster County Legislature have believed in this importance of this project and budgeted funds to create the suitable framework to display this statue. I'm happy to say that from its inception, this project has had unanimous bipartisan support of the Ulster County Legislature. Chairwoman Tracy Bartells.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today, and thank you, Fawn, for all your hard work and all your efforts on this project to make it a reality. Ulster County is a place where we take pride in preserving our history. Historic Huguenot Street, the Senate House, the first capital of New York State, the D&H Canal, and the Burroughs Cabin are sites. We have sites too many to mention. And yet it's hard to imagine that today we stand here where over 2,300 people are buried on a site that until today there was nothing to mark their passing. These are the people that built Ulster County. They built the houses and the roads. They cleared the fields. They farmed the lands. They were shopkeepers. They were teachers. They were housekeepers and fishermen and laborers. And like so many at the time, they lived a hand-to-mouth existence. When I hear the stories, those stories that we heard today about the Poorhouse ledgers and the people here, they tear at my heart. They're the stories of unwed mothers, elderly farmers and factory workers who grew too frail to perform their duties and to support themselves. Immigrants struggling to make ends meet, and those suffering with mental illness whose families could not care for them. Freed slaves and children torn from their parents. Theirs is a portrait of suffering. We've come a long way with a robust system of support for those in need, but even today there are those among us here in Ulster County who struggle to make ends meet. Children who go to bed hungry, and elderly who rely on home-delivered meals for nutrition, comfort, and sadly, too often, the only company that they will share for that day. Gandhi said the true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. The true measure of Ulster County is a citizenry that volunteers to help others and that works in service to the vulnerable among us. I'm grateful that so many Ulster County citizens and residents organize food drives, visit the homebound or the sick, and tirelessly give to improve the lives of others. I extend my sincere thanks to the hard-working Ulster County employees who serve the greater good and those in need, but we must remain vigilant. We must learn from this past. As we dedicate this memorial to honor and remember the people buried here, I'd like to extend the hope that we aspire to its call, that we serve, aid, and protect the most vulnerable among us, and in doing so, strengthen the character of our shared community. Thank you so much.
I am so very proud to have a chance right now to thank Ulster County Clerk Nina Postupack. She's been a tireless conservator of Ulster County history and finding ways to make our history relevant to new generations. If you're ever in Kingston getting your license or something in the county building, come up to the second floor and look at the beautiful museum quality displays that she puts together. Nina and her staff ensure that original documents and items are preserved and available to historians like Susan Stressin-Cohn and town historians from across the county and across the state. Nina, could you come up and say a few words?
Where's Susan? Is she here? Come up, come up, come up. All the thank yous today were very well deserved, and I have a list of thank yous, and I'm not going to do that because this woman coming up has really inspired me throughout. She's going to make me cry throughout the years. This woman has brought every single one of us in this room tonight to this place, but Susan does it for a reason. 20 years ago, we met, and we met because we had a love, and we shared that love of history. But Susan brought that love and took those archives. You know, people say to me all the time, Nina, you're so committed to the archives, you're so committed to history. No, it's people like Susan who can tell the story. She tells the story of these people that have, their voices were never heard, and Susan has made their voices heard. In 2004, we did a teaching packet, Who Will Weep for Me? And that was the first teaching packet we did in the county clerk's office, and we went on to collaborate with Susan 4 more times to do 4 more teaching packets. But with that first teaching packet, to this day, children are learning every day in the classrooms in Ulster County about the Poorhouse and the history of the Poorhouse. How rich are we that we have the ability to teach our children about this history? Because of Susan. And the list goes on and on and on, because Susan just, her Runaway Slaves book, it's just amazing, everything she's accomplished. But we are waiting to see the statue. So I just want to end this with one thing. In our teaching packet, and I have to put my glasses on, Susan started the teaching packet with a quote. And that quote was, "You think that just because it's already happened, the past is finished and unchanged. Oh no, the past is cloaked in multicolored taffeta, and every time we look at it, we can see a different you." Well, you know what? Susan's done that here today. She's allowed us the opportunity and the ability to interpret, to put our own colors on the history of the Poorhouse and these grounds. Thank you, Susan, for all you do. Thank you for being a very good friend and a wonderful colleague. I love you.
It's hard for some of them to stand up, too. This is very different than 20 years ago. 20 years ago, when we first attempted to do something, I was in the grocery store and a woman accosted me and said, "Why do you care about those people? Nobody cared about them when they're alive. Why do you care about them now that they're dead?" And I knew at that moment that they were wrong. People did love those people. Somebody loved them. They had mothers and fathers and children that loved them. And Susan has continued to bring them to life again for us. Susan, because of Susan, we do care about them. She's been telling their stories for 20 years, and she's never been compensated for anything except for the kind of reaction she just got here tonight when she tells those stories. She has literally picked up their skulls and their bones and ensured that they were reinterred with respect. She hacked her way through briars and brambles to uncover the Rebecca stone, which you're all going to see later, and saved it from destruction more than once. She developed classroom curriculums and education materials. She collected records and interviews and news articles. I know for Susan, this is not the culmination of 20 years of effort. This is just a stop along the way. I'm confident she will continue to weave their stories together for us, and as school children come to the pool, or parents wait for their kids at the fair, or a tourist drives past to an event, they will stop for just a moment and remember what was here. Thank you, Susan, for continuing to inspire us all. Susan's just going to read a very important poem to you, and then we'll go over and we'll uncover the statue in about 15 minutes. If you can stop and see it on your way. If you're, I know some of you have trouble walking over there, so you can meet us there in 15 minutes. You can stop and on your way past.
Thank you. I can't even talk now, but I thank all of you for being here, and I'm not going to go through the list of all the people that have been incredible in helping me. Again, I didn't do this work myself. It's been incredible people, and again, the culmination was Trina doing this incredible monument. So I'm just going to read. The person, actually one person, got me totally started here, and that was Rebecca McClang Brower. Rebecca McClang Brower died here in 1852. Is that my date? She was 30 years old. She came from Kingston. She was born in Queemans. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. Queemans? Okay. Up there, her father was a blacksmith. Hers is the one tombstone that's here. I don't know why there's one tombstone here. I've never been able to find out if there were others and if they were moved. I know from that one composition that when that student came, there was one tombstone here. So on her tombstone is a poem that if I don't cry through it, I'm going to read it to you. And again, all the people that know that I'm thanking you from my heart for all of what you've done. And, Fawn, who has gone thankless here pretty much, has been there from day one with me. So I want to thank Fawn incredibly. Okay, who'll weep for me? Where 'neath the cold, damp earth I lay, and sleep in quiet day by day, and have no more on earth to say, who'll weep for me? When I am sleeping in the tomb, and over my head fair flowers bloom, or midnight showers in her gloom, who'll weep for me? Yes, others too will weep for me, as here I sleep beneath this tree, that waves its branches over me. They too will weep for me, my mother dear, I know she'll weep, and father too, while here I sleep. My brothers and my sisters dear will weep for me while I lie here. And this is the epitaph, this is what's on Rebecca's tombstone. And we actually took the tombstone after I made the county, put it in concrete so it wouldn't move. They had to get it blasted out of the ground again and move it to another site. So someone stole the footstone many years ago, which was pretty awful.
If anybody finds it in their backyard, we would love to have that.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
So anyway, after 19 plus years, it's time to unveil the monument. So let's walk over there.